In this demonstration video, I'm going to show you how to create a pinch pot. A pinch pot is a hand building technique where you make a pot by pinching clay together. I'll show you an example of a pinch pot that I've made. This little donkey right here is a pinch pot. Okay, if I look on the inside, that's like a little pot in here, and I use my fingers to pinch the sides of it. Okay, so what you need to do this is basically a piece of clay, your hands, potentially a rubber rib if you want to smooth things out. That's pretty much it. Okay, so right now I have a pretty lumpy piece of clay. You might get a perfect square of clay, but what you want to do first is turn this lump of clay into a ball. So I put that clay in my hands and I roll it around like this. I'm rolling it in the palm of my hand because there's like a little cup right here that goes downward. You could also beat it on the sides where it's kind of pointy with the palm of your hand. Just form it into that little ball as well. It doesn't have to be a perfectly round ball either. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Okay, there are a few kind of bumps and creases that happened when I formed it into a ball, but that's okay because it's going to get smoothed out eventually. What I would do is find the ugliest part. So I think this one is the worst one. This is where you're going to insert your thumb. So with the pointy end of your thumb right here, you're going to stick it through your clay at that ugly point. Okay, and you want to go about halfway through your clay. So my thumb's like about that way, much from the bottom of my clay piece. Okay, here's the opening after I stuck my thumb in there. Okay, after you do that, you're going to spin your clay around your thumb, your clay ball around your thumb to kind of widen that opening. Okay, and clay is going to get under your fingernails. It's gotten under mine. Well, it doesn't really like my fingers, but there's clay under my thumb, and that's just going to happen when you make a pinch pot. Okay, after you have done your spun the clay around your thumb, you're going to take your two fingers right here, and you're going to pinch. Okay, and you want to pinch on the meaty part of your finger, not the very tips. So like this, not like this. Okay, it's kind of like a nice pinch, not a mean one. Okay, so you're going to stick your thumb in the opening and going at the very bottom right here. The very bottom, you're going to start pinching. And you'll spin your ball around as you're pinching. When you do this, it kind of forces the clay to move a little bit. And the opening in your little ball will widen. Okay. When you pinch, you want to make sure the wall of the clay, this part of the clay, is about that much, okay, about 1/4 of an inch thick. You don't want to go thinner than that because you'll end up tearing a hole in your clay, and you don't want to have two openings. Okay, after you have your bottom pinched, you'll just work your way downward, so towards the opening right here. Pinching again with the meaty part of your finger, just going around the whole thing. Okay, and I think I'm ready to go up here on the opening. Now my piece of clay split right here. What you can do is just kind of smooth it out with your fingers. And again, my walls are like this thick. It's like 1/4 of an inch. It's not super thin. You want to have your walls pretty even throughout your whole pinch pot. So what I would do after you're done, like I think I'm pretty much done building it, I'm just going to go and check and see if there's parts of it where it's kind of thicker than other parts. Okay. So there's my pinch pot. If you look on the outside, there are quite a few cracks. And that just happens when you move the clay around, and your hands will also make your clay drier the more you touch it. And that's not necessarily good when you're still building things. So that's when your rubber rib will come in handy. You can use it to smooth out those cracks and make your pinch pot look nicer. You could also just use your finger to smooth stuff out, but if you have access to this, I think it works pretty good. Oop, see, it's split again right here, and you just need to force the clay together, smooth it out. Now, if you want your pinch pot to be a little smaller, like you think this is too tall and you want to make it shorter, what you could do is just pound it on your table like this, and the clay will move downward. This is also a good way to make a flat bottom for your clay. So if I wanted to make a little itty bitty flower pot, that's one way to do it. But if you want it round again, you're just going to hold it in your hand and push the bottom out a little bit with your thumb, but be careful because you could make the clay walls really thin, and I've sort of done that with the bottom of mine a little bit. So this is a little smaller than the one I had before. Okay. If you want your clay piece to be narrower, you could take your two hands and kind of roll it together, forcing the clay closer to each other. And if worse comes to worse, you can just squish it, or you make your pinch pot. And make it smaller than you did last time. Okay, so I've kind of made my pinch pot look a little ugly, but those are just a few ways to change the form of your pinch pot if you're not happy with it without remaking it. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful to you when you're making your own pinch pots.